Hi, everybody, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 6 of The Leo's Den. My name's Naya Tapper, and my fun fact is that my mom let me get permanent hair streaks in 4th grade.
You might need to explain what permanent hair streaks to me are. Is that like when you color your hair?
Yeah, like when you put the cap on and then you pull out the pieces of hair and put on the hair color and then you wash it out and you got streaks.
And you were like, Mom, this is a great idea. I'm going to look so good with this.
Yeah, my teacher was like, why would your mom ever let you get permanent? It was like honey blonde or something. So it was crazy.
I'll like to see pictures next time. Hi, guys. My name's Alona Mar. And my fun fact is that we just played Dubai Sevens and I just played 5 14-minute games, which really isn't me. I don't think it's my brand. I don't know if I want to keep doing that. But as you know, we're two Leos who love to hear themselves talk. So, of course, we'll start with the horoscope. Do you often act as if the world is static and nothing ever changes? Sometimes you may think that humankind is a certain way, the world is a certain way, and so this is what you're going to do. Have you ever heard of evolution? The human race is constantly evolving, and so is the world. Look around.
That is an interesting one.
That's a deep one.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we're static. I feel like we know things change. We always want to like do something else or get better.
Mm-hmm. And I think even with like traveling, like it's so much going on. So like with me, like I get to a point where I'm looking forward to just sitting down and things being the same for a little while, whether it's my environment or my schedule.
Yeah, true.
Okay, guys. So on this finale episode, we have a special guest for you guys. Today, we will be interviewing not only a USA Rugby legend, but just a rugby legend in general. She has made 3 appearances in the Rugby World Cup and was selected as the top player in the world in her position in 2002 and 2006. In 2010, she was named the U.S. Rugby Player of the Decade. In November 2017, she was inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame and Flame.
Both of those.
Currently, she has her own clothing line called the PSK Collective, which myself, Naya, am an ambassador for. And she's also a commentator on the World Rugby 7 series, so you've probably heard her voice before. She has paved the way for women in rugby and is constantly taking on new projects, most recently MMA. Please welcome Phaidra Knight. She's half asleep right now.
I'm so tired.
Now, Phaidra, are you a plant mom? You have plants everywhere in your background.
I am the partner of Plant Mom. I love plants. I water them sometimes or assist in the watering process.
Okay.
I love talking to them. I love them. I love being around them.
All right, cool.
I'm probably not the best. I'm not the best mom though. If you want to.
So as you know, our show is called The Leo's Den. So could you tell us what your star sign is? And do you believe in that sort of stuff, like the star signs?
I do. I'm a Cancer. I was born in July. So I am. Yeah, I'm true. I'm true to every word of it, or at least at some point in my life was. But yeah, I'm a Cancer.
I couldn't tell you what that means, but good.
Yeah.
Naya, you know Cancers?
I think we have a couple on our team. Chris is a Cancer, Chet is a Cancer, Jordan's a Cancer. So we have I think some other people are as well on the team.
Yeah. We're real emotional, very moody, quite loyal, homebodies, as they say. So, yeah, you know.
Homebodies, yet you travel around and you do so much.
I know, but when I'm like in my routine, like I do my thing in the day and I just want to be at home as much as possible when I'm not training or, you know, traveling. Definitely a homebody in that sense. But yeah, I like to get around a little bit too and get out there and explore the world. So yeah.
Yeah. So as I was looking you up, I was like, holy crap, you've done so much. And so I think for me, my first question for you, is there anything that you just can't do? Because it seems like you can literally do everything and you're constantly trying to like get better and do so much more. And I'm just wondering, is that from like a hunger to always be better, to always do more for others, or where does that stem from?
Well, I'll tell you what I can't do. I can't shake this jet lag from Dubai. That's for sure. It's kicking my butt. But I mean, yeah, I've done a lot of things. I think it's rooted in an attitude that I acquired, or just a way of thinking that I gained from the people I grew up with. My grandfather, would oftentimes introduce me as his granddaughter, Faye, who could do anything. And when I hear that over and over again as a matter of fact statement, I guess I just believed it. I just felt it. It wasn't him being boastful or bragging. It was just him saying I could do anything. Because even as a 4-year-old, I was, on the tractor. I was watering pigs and tending the livestock. I mean, I was doing stuff that, most adults weren't doing at that time. So I think it started there, and I just never put a limit on it. And I feel that way now. Like, I can pretty much do anything I want. And so for me, it's about aim and conquer, and then move on to the next thing. Life is short, so make the best of it, make the most of it.
Absolutely. And let's get into these rugby accomplishments. You've accomplished so many amazing things in rugby, things that I'm sure me and Lo are aspiring to do in our journey. How did you get into rugby? Was it your grandfather who had a lot of inspiration on you, who kind of pushed you to rugby, or was it somebody else, or was it just yourself that kind of found rugby and it took off for you?
No, my grandfather, well, maybe indirectly. My family, my parents were always pretty supportive of me in anything I wanted to do. And so when I did, come across rugby, which I did in law school, had no previous knowledge or introduction to it, I kind of took it on with this sort of reckless abandon. And just didn't even think twice about it after I started playing. Loved it, fell in love with it, and that was it. So, it was interesting because I was in my first year of law school. I didn't really want to be in law school. I was burned out academically, and I was just trying to find something that could, create some balance for me in my life and reconnect with sport. And so I tried it. I took up the invitation to go to a training, and it was just an immediate love affair. So, yeah.
Did the professional realm come naturally, or as you played, you realized, okay, I want to go play professionally, or did it just come about and you were like, why not? Well,
it came about, right? I didn't know when I started playing that there was a U.S. team. And I spent the summer following my first, I guess, introduction to the sport in New York, interning for the Women's Sports Foundation. And that's actually where I discovered that there was a U.S. team. There were pictures of the 1991 World Cup team at the foundation. And I was like, wait, what is this? This is a silly sport that I just started playing. And, there were pictures of like Candy, Kathy Flores, Candy Orsini, and that crew from that team. And that was at that point that I was like, whoa, there's a U.S. team? Wow, this is really cool. And when I returned to Wisconsin following my internship in New York, that's when I sort of set my attention on just playing with some intention, right? With a cause, with a purpose. And it was from that point on that I really committed myself. Now, I wasn't being paid to play, so technically at that point, I wasn't a professional. But I began to train and to dedicate the time and attention to it that I consider it was that of a professional caliber. And then when I started playing sevens with the U.S., that's when I guess you could say was technically professional because I was one of the first players, on the first team at least, that was actually paid to play, which dubbed us as professional rugby players under Jules McCoy. So, I treated the sport like it was my job. And my job, I treat it like it was just something that was there to help, support my real passion, which was rugby. So, yeah.
Of all the rugby accomplishments you've had, one of the ones that really pops out for me is your showing on the show Made, that I think was on MTV, where like they turned people into other professions. And for you, you were teaching people how to be a rugby player. Can you touch on that experience a little bit?
Yeah, that was 2000. It's actually 2010. So it was the year of my last, what will turn out to be my last World Cup. Yeah, that's correct. And I went to a little town just outside of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I made a young lady named Sharon into a rugby player. I think she was probably the least likely person you would expect to play rugby. She was this girly girl who was not athletic or not an athlete, up until the time she started playing, and wanted to play on this state championship boys rugby team. And so I went out and worked with her for a couple of months, and it was a really cool experience for me because it actually inspired me to want to get into more coaching. And but yeah, it was coaching her rugby, but really kind of coaching her on just being a trying to be like a good human being, a good mom, a good daughter, a good sister. And it was more about the person, right? It was less about rugby, and more just about basic time, time commitment to the team, just those basic things that we gain as we grow, right? So as we grow up. So yeah, it was awesome. It was an awesome experience for sure.
And I want to say, like, nowadays, if an athlete did something like that would be an opportunity for them to blow up in the world, an opportunity for a lot of financial advantage to come in. Was that the situation back then with that experience you had with Made? Did your following grow? Did you get opportunities to get sponsorships?
What are you talking about? What following? Oh man, no, none of the above. I mean, there was the occasional at an airport, I'd be going through TSA and someone would ask me, and this was right after it aired, like, did I see you on television? But at that time, social media wasn't, that was 2010. Social media it wasn't even, a fraction of what it is now. There was certainly no endorsements that came as a result of that. But, for me, it was a good experience. It was a good experience and a rewarding experience to have a positive impact in someone's life. And, I wasn't looking for, I guess, more than that. It was enough, at the time. But hey, if it had happened, now, I'm sure all of those things would have transpired as a result. So, maybe we should kick up another Made or something.
So Naya and I have had great chats on this show, and I just wanted to learn more about your life experience and discuss what your experiences of being a Black woman in rugby have been like as one of the kind of starters. I don't really know what the not the vibe, but the landscape was like when you first started. But if you could touch on that a little bit for us.
Well, it was my experiences as a Black woman in rugby were very much like my experiences over the last 12 days of being in Dubai.
Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you what that was. It was, "Hello, sir." "Excuse me, sir." "Good morning, sir." I mean, constantly called sir. I got chased out of so many women's bathrooms, the airport, to the point where I made my uniform when I traveled this T-shirt that Berkeley made because it was a common issue with a lot of rugby players. It said, it had a big sign, like the female bathroom sign. It says, "Yes, I know it's the ladies' room." Like, it was just like a thing. And at that time I was, granted, I'm 100, maybe 155 pounds now. I was about 185 and I didn't have a neck. I mean, I was quite muscular. So I look back at pictures now and I'm like, oh, okay, I understand. I get it. But a little bit in a bit more serious. It was, I feel like a lot of the things I experienced as a Black woman in rugby, because there weren't that many Black women in rugby when I was, when I first started playing. They were no different probably than anyone else's when I was inside my rugby bubble. When my rugby bubble was just, with my club, even with opposition teams, right, with other women's teams, everyone, it was all good, right? People loved you or hated you, but it wasn't anything based on race or sex, or gender. But the differences I felt like that came about were how I was officiated, right? Like how I was reffed. I was very physical. And, at that time, probably one of the most, if not the most physical player, oftentimes on the pitch. And so many times I would pay the price for that, right? I would oftentimes get penalized for penalties that were just didn't exist. And was it because I was Black? It wasn't because I was a female. I mean, I was female like everybody else was a female. But it was, maybe I was just being, I know I was singled out for sure. And I kind of feel for I think I watch Alev and I watch some of the penalties that she gets on the World Series. And I'm like, are you kidding? I feel like she's kind of got the same syndrome sometimes where it's like, it was legal or that was really a minor infraction. And then, 10 seconds later, she's walking off the field with a yellow card. So I got a lot of that. There were times when I would often, just be stepping on a pitch after another teammate has gone off, a Black teammate. And I would get, penalized or yellow carded for like a repeated infraction that I didn't repeat. Right. So things like that happen, and but you roll with it. Right. I mean, just roll with it. But, it was also cool to be one of the only Black women and to be of the stature that I was physically and the way I played, because I was unique, and there comes perks with that also. Right. So yeah, it was a mixed bag, but just go with it. Can't change the color of my skin. Don't want to. But yeah, it's all good.
Did you feel like you could relate to the people when you were on your team professionally for sevens, being one of the only Black women or the only Black woman? Did you feel comfortable being yourself with the personality you have and the lifestyle you grew up in? Did you feel at home with your team?
I did. There were a couple other Black women on the team. There was Tyshawn Henry, Jess Watkins, who's now the astronaut, the NASA astronaut. And then, am I forgetting someone? If I am, please forgive me, Lord. But anyway, no, I've always felt like I've always been way comfortable in my skin, probably too comfortable. Everybody always says, like, I always have to, like, take it that step 1 or 2 or 3 steps too far. And that's a result of just being comfortable. Right. And so I've always felt that with the rugby teams and the people that I've been around. And so, yeah, it's that was cool. Right. That was a good thing. And anytime I felt any kind of insecurity, I guess looking back, I know it was obviously something that I controlled. That was me. It wasn't something that anyone else was imposing on me, if you will. So, but I've always felt pretty comfortable.
You're in a safe space.
Right or wrong, good or bad.
I would say you're with 2 other very comfortable people.
Yes.
So we relate to that a little bit of definitely, being ourselves and being a little bit unapologetic for it. So maybe you're slightly Leo as well.
Yeah. Slightly, maybe. What's Leo? What's the month? Birthday month?
August and like part of July, I think.
Oh yeah, we're like on the cusp, right? So Cancer feeds right into Leo, so I'd say we are definitely kindred spirits.
We'll be right back after this commercial break. Now, we did an episode on finances, and when you did decide to retire from rugby, did you feel like all set up, like you felt comfortable? Because I think that's a fear for a lot of our girls, is like some of them don't have degrees or
set up. What? Yo, set up to be
yeah.
No, it did not feel set up. The thing is, for me, I've worked. I've held down multiple jobs and done multiple things, all while playing rugby and putting in, long training days. And so I was certainly, I was a hustler, and I know how to feed myself. I know how to keep a roof over my head. But when I retired, I was by no means financially set or anything like that. And that's how it is, right? Especially when you're playing a sport like rugby or women's sport for the most part in general, you're not getting a huge salary. So you don't have money to put away. Everything you earn, you use, because it's kind of like month to month almost. You're not generating like these huge endorsements. So yeah, but that's how most people live in general, right? That's the life of most people. That's how our good old capitalistic society is structured. And so, but that's no reason to really fret. I mean, doesn't determine what you're going to have and, how much you're going to make going forward. That's just an indication of where you are at the moment. So that was cool. I mean, listen, I've made some terrible financial decisions in the past. We can talk about it on a whole different podcast. But yeah, and bounce back from it. So it's cool. It's everything is. My encouragement is that I don't think y'all need to be worrying so much about. And I say y'all, like girls who are playing and at the professional level and playing, on the U.S. 7s team, even on the 15s team. Just enjoy that. Enjoy the time you have. If you are just getting by, just get by. It's enough. If it means it will take away, putting time into trying to generate income is going to take away from your, your performance on the pitch, then just let it be. That's going to work itself out, the financial bit. But you fortunately also have ways, and TikTok star over here, that you can you can build, you have a platform, you have all of these things sort of at your disposal that you can do some pretty creative things to help generate income and publicity. So also sink your teeth into that if you have it, but I wouldn't sweat the finance piece. Yeah. And even when you retire, it's not going to all money's just not going to be accumulating at your door. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's good to hear you say that, because it's a reflection moment for us to see how far the organization has come, because now we are provided with certain resources that allow us to be set up when we do decide to retire. And I think it's only going to get better. So I think that's
exactly
really amazing to hear and to reflect on. And I think, speaking on that, my next question would be, going from your experience as a player to now being a commentator, kind of viewing from the outside in, do you think the sport has changed much since you were playing?
Oh my God. Yeah, a lot. I mean, from on the field, the display on the field, it's changed quite a bit. The game is faster in many ways. But yeah, just in terms of the support mechanisms that have been put in place to help, players with the transition from playing to retirement, I think those things have been pretty incredible. But yeah, it's certainly, there's been, a lot of changes, having, philanthropic groups like the Golden Eagles that have provided some stuff. Like, that's awesome. I didn't have the Golden Eagles, but I had a crew of people. I'll call them out because they were so good to me. I had like this guy, one of my coaches, Drew Fautley, Paul Haga, even the U.S. Rugby Foundation, U.S. Rugby. Yeah, they, like, all of these organizations, and I know I'm missing out on some names, but there were a number of people who were very philanthropic and charitable to my cause and believed in me as a player. Greg Parsons was another one who would oftentimes just give me money, right? So, and support, and it allowed me to be able to play and travel and do the things that I wanted to do in the sport. And so although it wasn't, I know everybody didn't experience that, but for me personally, it was awesome to have that support. And so I know how important it is that you all have that support. And it's just not just financial. It's a lot of different things, but it's so crucial to your comfort and your ability to really anchor down and do what you're doing, and set you up so that when you do springboard off of this, platform and onto the next, that you have somewhat of a foundation, and that's cool. It's huge.
For sure. And you're not really just a rugby player anymore. You're now getting into, so you've done bobsled, CrossFit, and you're getting into MMA now. What made you I want to go beat somebody up? What was why after that rugby?
I mean, don't you feel that way every morning you wake up?
Sometimes, I guess.
Lies, all the time. For me, again, it was like, okay, I knew that the road had sort of ended for me as a rugby player. At that time, I also felt very, very deep down that I wasn't done as an athlete. I felt like that I had so much more that was untapped. And I was frustrated a bit in my rugby career because I felt like I could do so much more, but I didn't quite know. I didn't have the recipe of how to create that at the time. And so, I was always asked, are you a fighter? Do you fight? And then I was on vacation and someone asked me, are you like Amanda Nunes? And I'm like, are you on crack? No, look like Amanda Nunes. No, I don't. And I was chatting it over with my partner, and it was like, yo, she said you should do that. You should actually, I think you should really consider MMA, because I feel like it's something that you would actually do well at. And it wouldn't take you that long to get to, a moderately high level. And I was all about it because I was, at the time, I've been retired for 2 years. I was working out, but it just wasn't the same, right? Like, I do better and feel like if I'm training for something, that is for me where I can really thrive. And so I was like, are you sure you're okay with this? Like, you're bought in? Like, I'm doing this, because if I do it, I'm doing it 100%. So had the full support, came back home from vacation, and just started training right away. And, everybody obviously, like, initially, everybody that walks into an MMA gym or into it was a BJJ academy, but into an MMA program, they're saying, hey, I want to fight. So I walk in, I don't give really any background of what I've done, because I didn't want to walk in sort of with that chip on my shoulder. I walked in and I'm like, yeah, I want to fight. And, they hear that like 20 times a day. So my coach was like, okay, cool. And he put me into this octagon after a few training sessions. He put me in with like a black belt. She was a brown belt at the time. And she's actually one of my training partners now. And I work with her for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She's a black belt now. But he put me in the octagon with her and 2 other women who have been training for, several years. And I was at that point a month in. And he was like, you say you want to fight? And I'm like, yeah, I want to fight. So he puts me in for like a minute with each of them and tells them to basically go at it with me, right? Yeah. And we weren't like striking. We were just doing grappling from stand up. And I hit like that nitro button that I always hit in rugby, where I just turned into like a monster. And it was just like, he had to stop it. He was like, oh, wait. He's like, whoa. You want your training partners to come back tomorrow. So that, I think that's how it started, right? I played my entire career, I feel like, in rugby, with the exception of maybe the last year, on emotion and hitting that nitro button and just going crazy. But oftentimes it left me quite tired, right? Like, there's only so much ATP your body can like cycle through, and then you're dead. And so that was a really defining moment for me, but it was a moment where I was like, I know that, I do want to fight, but I also know that I want to fight for different reasons than I played rugby. I want to be a technically savvy athlete who is known for how technically superior I am. And so, yeah, I do. I like the idea of fighting. I woke up and I wanted to just do something that was going to help me sort of develop to my greatest potential as an athlete, and continue that saga, if you will. But now looking back, I want to be able to do that from a place that is not rooted in emotion, but is rooted in technique, and just knowledge. So.
Well, Naya's always my grappling partner before games. And Naya, I think you might have a career. She is very good at grappling. And she is. Well, she's so powerful. And then I cannot beat her at all. She just gets in this mode, and then you just can't beat her. So Naya, think about it.
I told her I was a coach her. After she retired,
I just don't want to get hit in the face. This is my prized possession right here.
You don't have to get hit straight on. You just You're going to get hit in the face.
Yeah.
And when you first get hit in the face, you're going to be so ready to like go back at someone.
Yeah.
That's what you got to like tame. You got to tame that instinct. So
yeah,
it's very natural.
There's no doubt you're a pure athlete, but let's get into some of your ventures outside of rugby. There's a list of things, but one of the main things I want to talk about is your clothing collection, PSK. Can you give us a little insight on where the idea of this clothing collection came about and what you have planned for the future for this collection?
Well, having been a lifelong athlete, I've always had to deal with what I'm sure both of you have to deal with, fitting clothes. Maybe not, but growing up, back when we rode horses and buggies to the mall, I just struggled with finding clothes that would fit me, even as a kid. And even if they would fit me, they weren't the proper fit for me. I was quite androgynous as a child. And so girls' clothes are very girly. And, there was no such thing as girls buying boys' clothes. I mean, that wasn't happening. So I just found it very difficult to find clothes that would fit me. And I started talking to other athletes as I got older, and many of them, male and female, would have the same issue of actually clothes physically fitting their bodies and, would fit their legs and would fit their waist or vice versa. So, I determined very early on that I wanted to create a clothing line. Was introduced to my current business partner, Zara Bahare. We sat down and chatted a little bit about what my vision was in a clothing line. She was actually she was of the pedigree of clothes makers. Her family had been in the business for 20, 25 plus years, and so they were just really ingrained in it. But we had a very similar vision that we wanted to create this brand, but this, anchored in charity, really, anchored in giving back to organizations and nonprofits that were out kind of doing that frontline work on the social justice front. And, right now we're currently partnered with the Women's Sports Foundation in the fight for women's equity, equal pay, but we're not limited to just that cause. And so, that's really how the clothing line came about. And we decided we were pre-pandemic, we'd come together and we had this, vision of when we wanted to launch the clothing line. And once the pandemic hit, we decided we were going to go forward with our plans and launch it during the pandemic, because we felt like, although there was just a lot going on with COVID, there was a lot of going on in our country, in our world. It was a very it was a tough time, and we wanted to bring something that was positive to the forefront through apparel, and so we did.
And being a brand ambassador for PSK, it has been an amazing experience to be a part of an organization, a brand that wants to help different social aspects in the world, but also create quality and variety in clothing. I can speak on it and say, like, for myself and one of my best friends, Jazzy, we both wear PSK and we both dress completely different. And to be able to go to the same website and find things that are comfortable and aesthetically pleasing for the both of us, I think that's a prime example of what you can get from PSK. So if you are somebody who has struggled with finding clothing that you can feel comfortable in, but also look good and feel good in, PSK is the company that you want to invest in. PSK is the company that you want to go to for yourself, for your friends, for your family. So if you are interested in that, please check out her website. You can also go to my Instagram and find a lot of posts that have PSK tagged with a lot of the amazing clothes that they offer.
Yeah, well, thank you for that plug. That was awesome. But they can also get PSK collective apparel on Kohl's.com, Walmart.com, Target Marketplace, and most recently JCPenney.com. So and we will be breaking into the Asian market early on in 2022. So proud of that. And then the Canadian market as well in early 2022. So yeah, we're excited for the growth. We appreciate the support, and just know too that 15% of all net profit goes to the Women's Sports Foundation. Mm-hmm. So
amazing. For this season finale, we are going to end our Cub questions with questions that are directly for Phaidra. I know a lot of the times the questions are for me and Lo, but for this last episode of this season, we're going to have 4 questions for Phaidra. So the first question...
Keep it appropriate.
So the first question we have for you is, what is your favorite thing to do outside of work?
Oh, so work for me now is the clothing line and training. Honestly, right now that we're in December and November, I like watching Hallmark Christmas movies. I like listening to audiobooks. I'm listening to Lifespan right now. But yeah, I'm a real Hallmark fan. Seriously. Okay. I watched a Hallmark movie on the way back from Dubai on the plane, and I was crying. It was crazy.
Big city girl meets small town vet or something like that, or
I think this one was what was it? No, this one was about was it Forever Christmas, was it? Or this woman was she had come back to her grandfather's Christmas store in Vermont and was going to sell it.
I haven't, but it's a classic.
Awesome. Same storyline as every other one, but it's all good.
Those are great feel-good movies. So the second question is, what was your favorite part about filming with Halle Berry?
Man, what favorite part was punching in the face. Yo, what you didn't see was how she kicked my inner thigh and had it bruised. Bruised. They should have put my inner thigh right under bruised as the title graphic, right? Because she lit my inner thigh up so bad. Nah, but the coolest thing was, I grew up I grew up loving Halle Berry. Everybody in my house, she was one of the only Black actresses at that level. And so, meeting her and getting to work with her and see her almost on a daily basis was awesome. And just understanding and realizing that, she's just as down to earth as any of us was really cool. And so that, I think, was my favorite thing. It's also it's a bragging thing, right? You can say yo, my friend is Halle Berry. Yeah. It was so, but yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Getting to also do a movie that's themed around what I do every day. That was awesome. Mm-hmm. And she brought in fighters. She brought in Bridget, my training partner. Gabby Garcia was in that. Gabby Garcia is a very high level Brazilian grappler. Obviously Valentina Shevchenko was in it, but all those people that were in it, my coaches, they're real. This is what they do. This is what we do. So the authenticity of that was second to none. And so I think that was one of the things I really appreciated about the movie. It was real.
If you haven't watched it yet, make sure you go check out Bruised on Netflix so you can see Phaidra and her stardom. Mm-hmm. Phaidra, what was the best thing rugby has taught you?
Wow. Best thing that rugby's taught me, humility, I think I brought to it, but it really took it to another level for me. And just the importance of teammates, support, what support really is. And so those are like, I think, core things that I gained from the sport. And I went into it knowing what they were, but it redefined them in such an incredible way. So, yeah.
And then last thing, what's your next goal?
My next goal is to turn pro in MMA. It's not my last goal, but it's my next goal in MMA is to go pro. So working on doing that hopefully by 2023. If 2022 rolls out and we don't have another shutdown and, craziness with this COVID pandemic stuff, but that's the goal, to turn pro. I'll be turning pro at the age of possibly 48, 49.
See.
So yeah, that's some goal. That's an epic goal for me.
Yeah.
We should do another podcast where we just listen to like what you eat during the day and how you stay so young and healthy, because I think I need that.
I remember going to a vegan restaurant with her and I was in disgust.
Shut up. You wouldn't eat nothing.
Well, I think you would have loved it.
Why? What didn't you like about it?
I got vegan nachos.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I didn't pick the right item.
You should have gotten the tacos.
Maybe.
Yeah, the tacos. But Abby likes the place a lot.
That's Abby's girl.
Yeah,
she loves the vegan.
Well, you like it. When I come back out to San Diego, I owe you dinner for butchering your name on all those. A lot of mayor.
It's all good.
So I'll treat you to
some good vegan food. My favorite.
We'll go some. Yeah. Do you like vegan?
I eat anything. So yeah. It's not my first choice, but I've found some. These vegans are getting crafty. I will say.
Right. Yeah, it's off the chain. So
anyway, Phaidra, thank you so much for coming on with us and having this chat. You've really been a pioneer, and you're just a legend in the rugby game. And thank you so much for commentating our games and being just such a strong woman for all of us to look up to. So
thank you. Both of you are like super strong. You carry the team in many ways. And so I'm flattered to be here. Appreciate you thinking of me. And great that you guys are doing this. So thank you.
No problem. We'll definitely be supporting you in your professional ventures with MMA. So make sure we get those front seat tickets whenever those come around.
Or can we be ring girls?
I got you.
Ring girls?
I got you. Yeah.
We will play that, Naya.
Yes, please.
I'll pass that on. Awesome. Thank you.
All right, guys. So this is the season finale. So make sure to subscribe to the Leo's Den on your podcast app and follow @WisSports on all social media platforms for more great podcasts on women's sports. Show notes are on our webpage at wisports.com. Listen tab Leo's Den.
The challenge for this last season finale episode is to go re-listen to all the Leo's Den episodes and comment on our latest picture on our Leo's Den Instagram page. Which episode was your favorite? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are going to take a break for now for the holidays, but be sure to follow @Leo'sDen_WisSports on Instagram and stay tuned for news of season 3 coming your way in 2022.
Whether you came for the rugby and stayed for the shenanigans, we hope you join us next time in the Leo's Den. Bye.
Peace out.